If you're a weekend warrior, an athlete, you have a strain, a pain, a break, a tweak, a tear, a pull. Did I leave anything out? If you got a question about youth sports, the doctor is in the house. He will take your calls. If you have a question for Dr. Tim Kremchek, now would be the time at 513-749-1530, 866-702-ESPN. Pleasure to welcome in from Beacon Orthopedics, Dr. Tim Kremchek. Hello, Doc.
Lance, how you doing? Listen, you know how great it is to be talking about important baseball games on August 10th rather than the Bengals, although we will talk about them, or high school or little football. We're talking about the Cincinnati Reds, an important game with the Cardinals tonight and an important next 6 weeks. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Nothing beats it at all. We'll work in some phone calls as well if you want to jump in at 513-749-1530. Again, 866-702-ESPN. A lot of different ground to cover. One thing I have saved to ask you about, because it happened to Orlando Cabrera. Jared Burton, I guess, tweaked his the other night. We hear about strained or pulled obliques. Explain, Doc, if you could, the straining or the pulling of an oblique muscle and what it means.
You know, we talk about core strength. It's your side muscle. It's right about where your love handles are, and it's that side muscle. Your batters when they take a check swing or they're swinging the bat. Pitchers when they're twisting and using their core, and you know what happens at the end of it's either early in the season before they're conditioning, or when they're fatigued towards the end of the season. It can happen. You pull those muscle fibers, and unfortunately, you just have to get them healed to get them right. Because if you come back too soon, you can re-aggravate them. And Orlando's doing really well, but again, it's something we're going to have to monitor because we don't want them to get well and then boom, be back on the disabled list again.
I heard of an injury this afternoon, which I wanted to ask you about, and you know how I am with pronouncing words, so help me here.
Yeah, this will be great. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Phil Mickelson has a form of arthritis called psoriatic arthritis, I believe. It said it causes the immune system to attack his joints and tendons. Did I come close in calling it psoriatic arthritis?
Yeah, it begins with a P, so that's pretty good.
I was worried. That P had me worried, Doc.
I understand. But you know what? If you ever heard of psoriasis, it's the same thing, but it happens in the joints. And psoriasis aggravates and irritates your skin. Think about it, all that whole kind of mechanism going on inside of your joints, and they get stiff, they get swollen. It's treatable. It can be very difficult, and if it gets in his lower back, it gets in his knees, it gets in his elbows and his hands, it can be very difficult for a golfer, especially a golfer of that magnitude.
Doc, the Enquirer had a wonderful feature, full-page spread over the weekend on concussions and the number of, I think it said 140,000 high school football or high school concussions a year in high school athletics, and how scary it is. If you're a high school football coach this time of year, what are you looking for? What are signs if kids may or may not have a concussion?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I read that article. I didn't know it was going to be in the paper, but my associate, John Brannon, is probably one of the region's experts on concussions. And years ago, he started looking at this, and he's the one that developed in this region the impact. They talk about that impact testing. We do that with the Cincinnati Reds also, but a lot of our high school football teams do this. And the trainers are pretty astute, and they're taught at most of the high schools on how to recognize any type of concussion. But basically, you're looking for kids that are dazed, kids that get hit and they have a hard time getting up, or they start staggering around. That's a form of a concussion. And years ago, we used to blow them off and just say, hey, I got his bell rung, and walk away. But now there's very strict rules in the state of Ohio talking about how many concussions you can have and the degree of concussions and whether you're able to play. And it's a very serious thing. As you look at guys, even professional boxers, and see what happened to Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali, and we're seeing professional football players that have years after the game is over for them, that they show the effects of having these brain injuries. So it's something we take very seriously. And as a matter of fact, it's so serious that John actually has, during football season, Saturday morning concussion clinic for all kids, all ages, all levels at our Summit Woods office, where he sees the kids and counsels the parents and the kids and the coaches and the trainers about when they're able to play. But, any signs of any type of mental change, whether it's just staggering, memory memory loss, even nausea, vomiting, trouble seeing. Those are all signs that you could get your bell rung and you got to be looked at.
Doc, you have been very passionate, very involved with the aluminum bats over the years, featured recently in USA Today. I admit I've got a son, 10, who plays Little League, and I cringe sometime with the ball coming off the bat. It can be scary stuff, isn't it?
You know what? It is. As a matter of fact, I was involved with. There was a lawsuit in New York City trying to ban aluminum bats, and you see every year more and more kids that whether they get hit in the chest and they have a cardiac problem, like hitting the head, eye, mouth. The ball comes off awfully fast. It's like hitting one of those super balls off a bat. And it bounces fast, and the reaction time, especially with young kids, can be very, very difficult to pick up these balls. Sometimes the kids play with the balls that are not real white and they're a little bit dark, and by the time you pick it up, it can be devastating. And I am totally against aluminum bats. Although I broke my share of wooden bats when I was growing up, I'm a wood bat traditional kind of guy, and not only for the tradition of baseball, but for the safety.
The good doctor in the house, Dr. Tim Kremchek from Beacon Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Let's squeeze in some calls as well. John's in Cincinnati. John, you're on ESPN 1530. Say hi to Dr. Tim Kremchek.
Hi, Doc. How you doing?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
I am doing quite well. I'm actually slightly off the subject here. My question is, I want to know what is an appropriate age to allow a child to start working out. I have a young son in football. And, some of the fathers are already pushing their kids to work out. And I know now it's clearly too young. He's only going to be 9. And I just would like to know. I'd like a straight answer. I'm hearing a lot of different things from a lot of people, and you sound like the guy to ask. So.
Well, your 6-month-old son is too young, just so you know. But, no, it used to be years ago we talk about young kids and not working out in their growth plates. Now we're finding out that kids can work out. Kids that are 6, 7, 8, 9 years old can work out as long as it's supervised correctly. And that's one of the reasons that at our center here we've developed and we work with the D1 program. And this is a program to condition kids. We have 7-year-olds that are actually working out, lifting weights, not heavy weights, but they're doing it the right way. I mean, we have kids from the St. Susanna School, and their mom, Jen Davis, brings them over, and these young kids, these young boys are running, working out, and it's funny because I heard actually from her the other day that these boys are out there practicing with the football team, and they're running circles around their buddies who haven't worked out. So it's becoming, as long as it's policed and it's watched the right way, ages 7 and above can start working out. But again, it has to have supervision.
John, thanks for your call. Cincinnati, the next stop. Gary, your question for Dr. Tim Kremchek.
Hey, great. Thanks for taking my call.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? I have a L5-S1 degenerative disc situation.
Yes.
And my insurance company actually covered this, and I'm going to rehabilitation once a week. They have approved, and I've been using for about 6 weeks, a home traction machine that involves laying on the floor, and you strap to this pretty high-quality plastic, but it's high-quality plastic, and then you pump this traction machine up. However, I've Googled this thing. I can't find any definitive opinions on, first of all, what benefits it has, and do you recommend it? Do you think it works? And I'll hang up and listen to you.
Actually, my opinion, again, I'm not a spine surgeon. I have a very good spine surgeon, Ian Rodway, that works with me here at Beacon. But I think traction works better for the neck and the cervical spine. It's really hard to get enough traction to pull the weight and distract the disc in the lower body. You just have to place too much force. So I'm not a big fan of that in the lower back, just so you know.
Gary, thanks for the call.
Sure.
Jeremy on ESPN 1530. You're on with Dr. Tim Kremchek.
Hey guys, thanks a lot.
Sure.
Hi.
I got a quick question. My wife a year ago came down with Guillain-Barré syndrome. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or heard of it.
Sure.
Okay. Well, she's 27 years old, and she has come back with complete, recovery as far as all muscle movement and everything like that. But she still suffers from periodic, like whenever she does a physical activity, she'll get the tingling in her arms and her legs. And I was wondering if there's anything she can do to try to better that, or if that's just something that's going to be that she's going to have to learn to live with, I guess.
be honest with you, I mean, I know what it is, and I treated Guillain Barre, but I would call a physiatrist. If you want to call somebody at my office, Dr. John Brannon is a physiatrist who deals with injuries, neurologic injuries like that. He's a physical medicine rehabilitation specialist at 354-3700. He'd probably be able to help you. But I would imagine some type of physical therapy and physical exercise to some degree would be in her best interest over the next couple of years. Sounds like she's done quite well.
Thanks for the call. Doc, back to Antonio Bryant for just a second. If I do remember correctly, he tore his meniscus and had surgery on it last August. So let me just ask you, not specifically about him, the meniscus itself, the impact and how significant a torn meniscus is in a knee.
Well, the meniscus is the shock absorber in the knee, and we see this in all athletes and on all sports. And most of the time you go in and deal with it, and you do fine. And when we deal with guys, for example, in professional baseball, we take out their meniscus and part of it, the torn part, and they're back on the field in a couple of weeks. Now, sometimes if it's the right type of cartilage tear, meniscus tear, you sew them back, and they're going to miss 3 or 4 months. But usually in a professional athlete, you don't do that often because there's a chance that it won't heal and they're going to miss their season. So typically, a meniscus tear and surgery should do very, very well, especially if it would last August. I would expect them to be back 100%.
Let's grab another one in Florence. Speaking of knees, Jerome, you're on ESPN 1530.
What's going on, Shotgun?
How are you?
Hi, Dr. Kremchek.
Hi.
My question is, my wife has a knee injury, and she when she steps down on a rock, it pops out, and she's been having this problem for probably a couple months. It's getting worse. What would you recommend my wife do?
Well, first of all, I'd see a doctor. You got to do something. Flintstone vitamins aren't going to cure that one. So I would definitely see a doctor. And if you want to come up here, I'd be happy to see you. You sound like a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, his phone is cut out. There was a lot of noise in the background, but we appreciate his call. Doc, with as hot as it is, and with high school football practice underway, what advice can you give coaches and parents and high school football players for dealing with the heat this time of year?
Well, it is tough out there. It's 99 degrees, and I'm going to tell you, a lot of the schools are practicing in the evening time. Again, I just got involved with the St. Susanna football team, and that's why I mentioned it before. And one of the football moms, Jen Davis, who I was mentioning, we talked about this, and it's hydration. The kids need to drink a lot of water the night before. You can't just gulp it down before you go into practice. Drink a lot of water the night before. The players need breaks. They need water breaks. They need to sit in the shade. And if kids are starting to overheat, they'll start getting nauseated. They'll start to having double vision. When they stop sweating is when you really start getting concerned. A coach, when a kid says he's overheating, then take it seriously. Sit them under, get them a little water, put a cool rag on their head. This is serious, serious stuff. And please don't play around with it. When I was a kid, we didn't know much about this, and it was the tougher you were is like watching the movie with Denzel Washington in it. You don't go until you throw up. That is not. Remember the Titans. That is not the way we do it. Kids overheat. It's serious. It's life-threatening. If you're a coach or your parent, please watch your kids and hydrate them the night before practice.
Safe to say this time of year you guys are doing more than a few physicals at Beacon Orthopedics?
Oh, we do physicals. We had our big, massive physicals on July 24th, but kids trickle in all the time, and it's amazing how fast the summer goes. School starts in some places already. Next week, my kids start school over the next couple of weeks, and before you know it, fall. And what makes it so much fun right now is we've got high school sports, men's and women's, football. We've got field hockey, soccer, but the Cincinnati Bengals, Cincinnati Bearcat football team, but the Reds are what's going to keep us going in September and hopefully into October. I know we talk about that. I get giddy about it, but boy, I tell you what's exciting.
Doc, one more time for those who want more information about Beacon Orthopedics, website and phone number, please.
Yeah, phone number is 513-354-3700, and our website is www.beaconortho.com. I have my own website on there. A lot of our docs do. We've got all specialties covered, from arthritis to spine to hand to sports medicine, east side of town, west side of town. And all of our docs are involved with our high school sports. We all feel that commitment to want to give back to the community, and a lot of schools that don't have a whole lot we spend our time with. And I'll tell you what, it's a special time of year come the fall when the kids start back. It's a lot of fun, too. I can't wait.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. We'll talk again soon.
Lance, take care, man.
All right, you too.